On the electrified stage of The Voice Season 27 playoffs, which aired on April 28, 2025, Britton Moore gave a performance that resounded like a clear bell in the midst of a peaceful night. Keen's Somewhere Only We Know, a song that requires both vocal purity and emotional depth, brought the 20-year-old musician, who is a member of Team Adam Levine, to the forefront of the music industry. Moore's crystal-clear vocals and sincere delivery stood out during a night that was fraught with high stakes and heartbreaking eliminations. As a result, he was awarded a coveted berth in the live shows and sparked a wave of fan enthusiasm. Let's get to the bottom of the magic that was Britton Moore's performance during the playoffs, which was a moment that had a combination of raw skill, daring song choice, and a touch of adolescent vulnerability. The playoffs serve as the crucible for The Voice, where each artist must demonstrate that they are prepared to compete in the live shows that are powered by the fans. There was a tremendous amount of pressure placed on Team Adam, which was led by the singer of Maroon 5 and was mentored by the mega mentor Leanne Rimes. In addition to his teammates Lucia Flores-Wiseman, Ethan Eckenrode, Coldy Cordell, and Connor James, Moore was tasked with the difficult task of persuading Levine to keep him in the final two. Making the decision to go with Keen's Somewhere Only We Know, an indie pop anthem from 2004, was a calculated risk on his part. The delicate piano-driven melody and soaring chorus of the song call for a vocalist who is capable of balancing restraint with emotional release. This is a tough order for a young artist who is in a moment that could spell the difference between success and failure. At the very time that Moore stepped onto the platform, there was an air of unassuming assurance about him. His presence, which was inconspicuous on account of his simple attire consisting of a navy sweater and pants, belied the vocal strength that he was about to unleash. Moore's voice entered the studio like a lovely breeze just after the opening piano notes of Somewhere Only We Know began to ripple across the space. Moore's voice was unadorned and clean. His introductory comments, which were "I walked across an empty land, I knew the pathway like the back of my hand," were delivered with such a crystal-clear clarity that they immediately drew the audience in. One fan tweeted, "Britton's voice is like a warm hug," referring to the angelic quality of his tone. Fans on this platform have praised his voice. How is it that he is only 20 years old? Moore was able to combine technical accuracy with raw passion, which was the defining characteristic of his performance that made it sublime. Moore struck into the song's melancholy heart, which is a nostalgic ode to a fleeting place of comfort. Keen's song is an illustration of this. It was almost as if he was bringing the listener into a private recollection with his lines, which were very personal and even conversational. However, when the chorus began to play, which was "Oh, simple thing, where have you gone?" his voice grew with a controlled intensity that filled the room. While Rimes nodded his head in approval from the sidelines, Levine, who was visibly moved, leaned forward in his crimson chair. The responses of the coaches were quite similar to those of the audience, which broke into applause as Moore reached the most emotional point of the song. The vocal choices that Moore made were absolute masterworks of dynamics. During high-pressure performances, he managed to avoid the frequent mistake of oversinging, which is a common danger. Through the use of subtle vibrato and delicate falsetto flourishes, he instead allowed the song to breathe, which added complexity to the performance. The way he phrased things, particularly in the bridge, "And if you have a minute, why don't we go?" gave the impression of a personal appeal, and it was infused with a youthful yearning that struck a chord deeper than ever before. The genuineness of this was not a coincidence. During the rehearsals, Rimes had urged Moore to sing from your truth, which was a piece of advice that Moore had obviously taken to heart. The end effect was a performance that was less like a showcase for the competition and more like a moment of genuine artistic expression. It was a stroke of genius that the music was chosen in the first place. This song, Somewhere Only We Know, is not a typical selection from The Voice because it does not have the bombast of shouted ballads or the flair of up-tempo pop. Moore's clear tone, emotional clarity, and ability to connect with others contributed to the modest beauty of the piece, which played to Moore's strengths. Fans expressed their admiration for the risk on social media, with one post stating, "Britton's decision to pick Keen was brilliant. Although the song is not a show-off tune, he managed to make it remember." Moore was able to demonstrate his flexibility through this pick, which was a departure from his past performances, which were more country-influenced, such as Zac Brown Band's Free in the Knockouts. This shift brought to light his versatility and demonstrated that he could be successful in more than one genre. Levine's comments were extremely positive. "Britton, you have this gift," he remarked, his tone tinged with fear as he spoke those words. "Your voice is so unadulterated that it can penetrate any and all things." This was a moment in time. The sentiment was shared by Rhimes, who described Moore's performance as a journey that left her speechless. There was more to the praise than just hyperbole from the coach. It matched the general sentiment that existed online, where fans referred to him as a dark horse of the season. Even competing coaches Kelsey Ballerini and Michael Bublé contributed their thoughts, with Ballerini remarking, "You made that song your own," and Bublé jokingly saying, "I'm stealing you for my Christmas album." There were certain difficulties that arose during the performance. In prior rounds, Moore, who was one of the younger contenders, had been criticized for his lack of stage presence among the other competitors. Over the course of the playoffs, he confronted this issue head-on by striding purposefully across the stage and making deep eye contact with the crowd. The song's meditative atmosphere was perfectly matched to his quiet appeal, despite the fact that he was not as dynamic as some of his more flashy teammates. His disposition was complemented by the lighting, which was a gentle wash of blues and purples. This created an ambience that was reminiscent of a dream, which amplified the emotional impact of the performance. Following the conclusion of Levine's decision-making process, Moore's rise with Lucia Flores-Wiseman appeared to be earned but was not assured. There was a lot of controversy over the decision to remove Ethan Eckenrode, Colby Cordell, and Connor James from the lineup. Some fans argued that Eckenrode's original song should have been included. Moore's constancy and emotional resonance, on the other hand, became the decisive factor. According to Levine, Moore possesses limitless potential and youthful beauty, which is a reference to Moore's capacity to develop during the live shows. Fans expressed their joy with one of them saying, "Britton in the lives?" Certainly, the Keen cover was nothing short of a miracle. The performance that Moore gave was more than just a means of advancing to the next round. It was a declaration, a rarity in the high-gloss world of the voice. He is carving out a niche for himself as an artist who places an emphasis on genuineness rather than flashiness at the age of 20. The way he performed Somewhere Only We Know brought to mind artists such as Passenger or Vance Joy, as it successfully combined the sensibilities of indie folk music with the accessibility of pop music. Away from the stage, Moore's modesty is readily apparent. During an interview with NBC Insider, he revealed that the song brought back memories of his hometown, which is a place that he holds dear while he navigates the whirlwind of the competition. Moore's performance has already begun to have repercussions that are already visible. There is a lot of activity on social media, with fans expressing their desire for a studio version of his cover, while others wonder about the possibility of his performing live. Moore's ability to connect with people on an emotional level will be his greatest strength now that audience votes are being considered. His performance in the playoffs demonstrated that he is capable of revitalizing a song that is already well known, a talent that has the potential to propel him to great heights. Britton Moore has emerged as a force to be reckoned with in the background as The Voice Season 27 moves closer and closer to the live shows. In his song, Somewhere Only We Know, he brought to our attention the fact that sometimes the most honest voices have the most profound effect. Moore's subtle brilliance stood out from the crowd and left a lasting impact on night one of the playoffs. This was a competition that was loaded with vocal acrobatics and big personalities. According to a tweet from a fan, Britton Moore has just entered our hearts through his singing. A proud person would be Keen.